My name is Tim Freitas. I teach AP Language and AP Literature at a vocational school in Massachusetts. And I'm extremely excited to be here today. This is like the best day of my life. Actually, my second best because I married my wife. But actually, my sixth best because I've got 5 children. But nonetheless, okay? Can you believe that? This pod, 5 children? I don't know. Alright, so anyway, I want to just bring you in to this here a little bit. I have a rhetoric degree. So when I was approached to create the AP Lang course at my school, I was like chomping at the bit for that because I've had to play the lit card my entire life. And then they said, "There's a rhetoric course for AP language," and I said, "This is great." So what happened is we started developing AP language, and I don't know how many of you, when you first started teaching AP Lang, you got into things and you were like, okay, so I can do this myself. But I didn't hear about this until college. In fact, I didn't hear about this until like my 200, 300 level courses. And now I've got juniors who are now in open enrollment, and I have to get them there. Was that anybody? Because that's the story of my life, or at least it was. So because of that, I started to really focus on question 2, because I think that foundationally, if kids can really manipulate and work with question 2, that can move to helping in questions 1 and 3. Because if they can really look at and evaluate excellent, strong arguments, they can then try to practice putting those skills in their own. Okay? So we're going to talk about that just a little bit. Another thing that I want to just bring out before you, before I get into things in full, is that I firmly believe in teaching the people that are in front of me, not that I'm necessarily teaching you, but at least working with you. If there's anything about question 2 or rhetorical analysis that you want to challenge me on, it's fine, okay? Diverse perspectives are excellent. But also, if you have questions about things, or if you're like, hey, you're going to get to this or that, I will work with that, okay? So although I have a presentation in mind, and I'm going to try to really get through everything, I will be more than happy to kind of bend the rules a little bit, or bend the presentation to try to say, I can help you with that, particularly for question 2, because I do question 2 presentations all the time. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to look at how I have kids break down question 2. I'm going to give you some templates for thesis statements, and I'm going to give you some templates for body paragraphing. I don't think we'll get to conclusions, but because of that, I would like to point out that starting on page 12 of this packet is my entire presentation written out for you like a textbook. Okay? So you will see everything in here, however I use different examples. And I have full explanations, and I will give you my email address. But the other thing too, how many of you have actually are part of the AP Language Facebook site? Okay? If you're not, you need to be, particularly because Jody Rice is part of the AP Language Facebook site, and she should be teaching all our classes. I mean, she's just amazing. But anyway, so nonetheless, you can access me through the AP Language Facebook site too if you have questions or if you want these documents. Now, just so you know, one of the things that I tell my kids when they start their essays and they're going to produce an argument, I tell them 2 things. They need to typically start with an emotional appeal. With an emotional appeal, okay, and I'm going to do that in just a moment. And then they need to start with definition, because when the kids can generate the emotion and then define things, they set the parameters. Okay, and I want to do that for you. I was reading the Cedar Chavez prompt in 2015, and I got a paper, and I know for a fact it was from Boston, because the papers before it came from Boston, because they referenced Boston in their papers, and I looked at the school codes, and they were the same. Liz, I'm not supposed to do that, I'm so sorry. Okay, but nonetheless, it came from Boston, and this girl started writing a paper, and it sounded good. This girl could write. I could tell that she read the piece. I could tell she read it accurately. And about 5 sentences in, she said, all right, let's be honest. I don't have a clue what I'm doing. And then she went on for 3 pages talking about how the pressures of school have gotten to her, how she feels so helpless right now. And I was like crying, sobbing. I've got 5 kids, I'm super emotional, right? I'm like sobbing here on the inside. And I said, if only this girl felt empowered or had something to fall back on when question 2 came. She already read the piece right. I could already tell she could write, but she couldn't do question 2. And so that's kind of what drove me to really push using templates for writing, particularly for question 2. One thing about this is I push these templates at the beginning of the year. I then teach kids to kind of move away from them throughout the whole year. You can see that in the packet. We won't get to that today. But I will also say this. At my school, we have about 100 kids take the AP Lang exam, and 80% of our kids score in the highest fourth or the second highest fourth for rhetorical analysis, which is typically considered one of the harder essays. And of that, most of our kids score in the highest fourth. Now, I don't know if this is accurate math, so forgive me if it's not, but if I take 9 and divide it by 4, it's 2.25. So that means that our kids are typically scoring a 9, 8, or a 7.75. So needless to say, I think that most of our kids fit in the 7, 6, 7, 8 category, but that's really where we want a lot of our kids to get to. And it all stems from giving the kids the tools and the springboards to make this valuable for them. And we're going to try and do that. But we're going to start with definitions over here. We know that Charlie Brown has that teacher that likes to say wah 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 wah. And a lot of times I look at my students as I'm teaching, and if I'm not standing on a desk, they are looking at me and they are hearing wah 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 wah. And it happens to be that in rhetoric, definitions are exactly that. So what I want to do is I want to first challenge you all to look at this first page. And I want to start changing some definitions. Now, I'm not going to read this word for word. We all know what Aristotle said as he invented rhetoric, that it's all available means of persuasion in any given case and things like that. Now, if I give a kid who has very little experience with rhetoric this definition, the kid looks at me and I say, so tell me what that means to you. Nothing. Their cell phone means something to them. Their mom might mean something to them. But this does not. So I tried to say to myself, how can I make it so that kids can really applicably manage this idea of rhetoric? And so I kind of gave his definition a little bit of an update, right, by adding sunglasses, of course. And this is what I give kids for the definition. Using language to construct meaning. Using language to construct meaning. And the reason why is because when that happens, okay, what was once in a dictionary for them now can become a little bit more manageable for them. Using language to construct meaning. However, I tell them that language is not just the words that we use. It's anything concrete that conveys anything abstract. And I'm going to give you an example right now. Besides the fact that I've already said it, but if you all look at me for a second. All right, can you all tell something about me?
You got 5 fingers.
Well, I do have 5 fingers. You're right. You know, you are that kid, okay? I always have to keep this in. I'm married, right? You guys can tell I'm married. Now, that's abstract. Marriage is an abstraction. But what is concrete that says that? It's this ring. Now, do I have anybody in here who loves fantasy literature? Okay, cool. Can you see that ring? That's right. It's elvish, okay? So not only am I married, but I'm also geek. Okay? So now you know. And now what happens is, I tell kids, so wait a second, my ring conveyed that I'm married and that I'm geek. When did I say metaphor? When did I say simile? When did I say drama? When did I say all these lit terms we try to cherish in our lives? We don't necessarily need them. But we do have the concrete conveying the abstract. So I tell kids, when we deal with rhetoric, we go concrete, we go abstract. Sometimes it's language, sometimes it's not. You understand? Sometimes it's language, sometimes it's colors. I tell my kids, you walk into my classroom, and there are balls and chains on the hanging from the walls, and there are bars on the windows, that's all right. What kind of time are you going to have here? And they're like, oh, we know. It's English class. And I'm like, you're right, okay, it's dismal. But notice, okay, I'm not using language, I'm using props. Actually, I have candles floating from my ceiling, that's true. But nonetheless, okay, using the concrete to convey the abstract. I want to encourage you to change your definitions because they sound nice in the anthologies that we have, but the kids don't get it. So we need to kind of meet them where they're at. And I'm extremely convicted by that. Next, I want to look at this idea, right? Rhetorical device. I got this from Wikipedia, and it makes me sick that I had to use Wikipedia, but it was the only site that attempted to give me a definition. I was like, of all the places, it's Wikipedia, right? So I'm a little sad. But interestingly enough, it's a pretty good one. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but here it says a resource of language. Interestingly enough, though, it says uses to convey to the listener or reader a meaning with a goal of persuading. Hey, I like that because this is idea-based. This is the abstract-based. But the thing is, though, when you tell a kid to read that definition and then respond to it, what's going to happen? Wah, 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 wah. So why don't we change this a little bit? So rhetoric itself was already using language to construct meaning or convey meaning. What we're going to do now is we're going to look, and we're going to change that. Anything a speaker uses to construct meaning. Isn't that much nicer? Imagine telling that to a kid when you're like, what's a rhetorical device? And you say, anything a speaker uses to construct meaning. Now, my question now becomes this. What fits in the category of anything? Not a trick question. Those are everything. Everything. So kids think that they're limited to talking about these lit terms that have been shoving down their throats since kindergarten with the new Common Core. And now, all of a sudden, they're like, wait, anything? And I'm like, yes, anything. In my example from earlier, you found out I was married, but what did I use? What is it? It's a ring. It's a piece of metal. It's a circular piece of metal, right? So I used a circular piece of metal to convey meaning. Now, I don't want you to think that I don't think terms are nice to have. They are. Because what if a kid says, when used appropriately, okay, they're kind of cool to have. What if I said, a loving symbol to convey that I'm married? Now, so I've got that nice lit term in there. I've got a lit literary audience, But I don't have to say that. If it's a piece of metal, I'm going to call it a piece of metal. Anything can be a rhetorical device. People like to use rhetorical devices and rhetorical strategies synonymously, and they're not synonymous, okay? So you need to know that, all right? Now, you might debate my definitions, and that's fine, okay? Just leave it to verbal debate. I'm a scrawny guy. I can't really go on my own, all right? But we want to realize that devices and strategies are not the same thing. The device is anything a speaker uses to construct meaning. What that means is that the device is going to be a noun. A device will be a noun, okay? So then I said, all right, I got to find a rhetorical strategy definition. So I get to Norton. Strategies are modes or techniques. Rhetorical modes are excellent for teaching rhetorical strategies, by the way. We'll talk about that in a bit. It says modes or techniques which help the writer to organize evidence, connect facts into a sequence, provide clusters of information, and you guys are already bored. Okay? So once again, what are we going to do? We're going to try and update it. Now please remember that my first definition for rhetoric is using language to construct meaning. And notice we have language, concrete, meaning, abstract. Rhetorical device is anything that's concrete that constructs meaning, that a speaker uses to construct meaning. That's abstract. All right? Well, we're going to change the definition for rhetorical strategy here to clarify it for kids, and it's this. Anything a speaker does to construct meaning. Now, what's the difference between that and the device then? Yeah, the verb, uses and does. So the device is going to be a noun, and the strategy is going to be a verb, and I have to tell you that it is going to be any verb except uses. Do not let your students use the word use. On page 6, I have a plethora of excellent verbs for your kids to use that will give is and uses a break. A majority of this did come from John Williamson, by the way, so I have to give credit where credit is due. So if you don't know John, please make sure that you get to know John. He's incredible. But please, and then kids like to go to employs the use of. That's usual. Kids need to think of rhetoric as being concrete and abstract. When they only give you terms, and no verbs, by the way, they are only in concrete land. It's nice that we kind of get them there, but the AP exam is not to get them to concrete land, it's to get them to abstract land and complexity. And when things are complex, we have labels.